Okay, folks, so here's a classic problem that you'll be responsible for. And we're actually going to work this problem for the remainder of the semester. We just will do it for different and more complicated functions. So this function is a quadratic function, the quadratic 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. But soon we'll be doing it for any function. We're asked to compute the difference quotient. So here we go. Here's our solution to this. Folks, when you do this problem, I always want you to restate the difference quotient. I don't want you to jump straight into the middle of computation. This is so that you learn the difference quotient and you begin to see the overall big picture similarities in some of these problems we'll be working. So the difference quotient for this function is f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. So do make sure you always start off by writing out that difference quotient. Remember, I gave a hint last time. You can see we've got differences in the numerator. In class, we'll talk about how we also have differences in the denominator. So there's the word difference, and then these are set up as a quotient. Okay, so our function is the function 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take this first expression here, f of x plus h, and we're going to compute that. So we'll do 2 times x plus h quantity squared minus 3 times the expression x plus h plus 1. And I'm going to put all of that in a bracket because we're not done with this problem by a long shot. I want to emphasize, I usually won't underline this, folks, but I'll do it this first time just to show you. There is the expression f of x plus h. Okay. And then we're going to subtract from it the expression f of x, which is just the original function, 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. But be very careful here. We want to subtract the entire function, so I need to go ahead and put another set of grouping symbols in there. And you could use parentheses, but since I've got parentheses elsewhere, I used brackets. That's up to you. So folks, I won't usually underline this, but let me point out that there is that expression for just f of x. So in place of f of x, I just wrote this expression right here, the original definition of the function. And then we have all divided by the variable h. So now we have to go ahead and clean up this entire difference expression. So folks, let's not split hairs here. If ever I say compute the difference quotient, it also does have the directions implicit in it to simplify that difference quotient down. Okay. So I want to emphasize that this is what we practiced in the previous video. We learned how to evaluate f of x plus h. We learned how to clean this up. That's what we did in the previous video. So here, if I went to start expanding that, we'd have 2 times the quantity x squared plus 2xh plus h squared minus 3x minus 3h plus 1. All of that is still inside of that large grouping symbol for just the expression f of x plus h. Then I'll subtract from that 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. Folks, I could have gone ahead and immediately distributed that minus sign through that sum, and then we have all over h. Okay. So we'll continue cleaning things up. In the numerator, I think I won't need the grouping symbols any longer. As I distribute, I get 2x squared plus 4xh plus 2h squared. So be careful, folks. I usually won't draw any arrows like this, but I think it's helpful to see that every once in a while to remind you that we distributed the 2 to each term in that trinomial. Then we'll subtract 3x minus 3h plus 1. And then if we'll go ahead and distribute this negative sign through similarly. So again, I won't usually draw arrows. I think that that actually kind of sets you up for trouble down the road. But it helps you think about distributing that minus sign to each term in that second trinomial. So this would give me minus 2x squared plus 3x minus 1 all divided by h. Well, what have we got here? Well, I sort of feel like we've got a mess. But as often happens when we do the difference quotient, we should see that a lot of terms are going to clean up. For example, I see the term 2x squared and I see the term minus 2x squared. And I see the term negative 3x and I see the term 3x. And I see the term plus 1 and I see the term minus 1. And so a lot of terms end up adding out. And so we're just left with 4xh plus 2h squared minus 3h all over h. And look at this. In this case, every term in the numerator has a common factor of h. So let's take a line to factor that numerator, that h out of the numerator. And now we can see clearly that we can divide the factor h by the factor h, and so we are just left with 4x plus 2h minus, folks, I have an error here. We've divided the factor of h out, so that should just be a minus 3. So let me just double check that with you, folks. We see that each term in that numerator has a common factor of h. We divided it out. That left me with 4x plus 2h minus 3. Now I can go ahead and divide out the factor h here and the factor h here, and we're left with our answer, the simplified difference quotient, 4x minus 2h minus 3. So folks, this was a combination of a lot of algebra, and you're going to get good at algebra as you work these difference quotient problems. We started out with our difference quotient, and we went ahead and evaluated each of these expressions. We evaluated f of x plus h by taking the rule for x plus h, or for x, f of x, and everywhere we saw the independent variable, we replaced it with x plus h, and then just restating the function f of x. And then we went ahead and cleaned everything up. So after we'd done this, the new material is done, and the rest of the old material, or the rest of the material, is just how we always been able to simplify and clean up expressions. But that's easier said than done. It took us a little while to get this all cleaned up. So we went ahead and did some expanding. I expanded out the x plus h to get this. We did some distributing, and then we went ahead and collected like terms. Okay. Folks, I do require you to always show this part of the difference quotient. That's how you show me you've learned the definition of it, so make sure you always start with that, and you end with an expression that's basically as simplified as possible. Okay. So folks, I'm going to leave you to try the next two problems on your own. One of them has a fully worked out solution, and the other one just has an answer. Please don't work those two problems in a vacuum. This is my guide right here for working the two problems on the next page. Give it a shot, and we'll get some more practice with this when we get to class. Thank you, and see you. Bye-bye.